Bonjour, Annie. Hello, bonjour. My name is Dawn, and I'm a 3L in the law department here at University of Windsor. And this is Hanan, who's in her final year of law and politics. And we had our presentation on the influence and role of Indigenous women in Canadian electoral politics and governance. This is a SSHRC-funded research with Principal Dr. Rebecca Major. She's been with the University of Windsor for many years now. And she's joined by co-investigators Dr. Danette Starblanket, as well as Dr. Nawal Abel, who is with the psychology department here as well with the university. So what Dr. Major looked at here is that there's been a marked increase of Indigenous female participation in electoral politics in the last few years. And she sought out to answer the infamous question as to why that is.
So Indigenous methodologies have been a huge part of our research. We really wanted to focus on creating a safe space for our participants because they are a more trauma-informed community. And so we had training by Dr. Margaret Kovach and Joyce Green, who are prominent Indigenous scholars. As well, we wanted more cultural awareness training and interdisciplinary training because once again, we do want to promote this authentic voice. And we do understand that their stories are going to be different and unique. So we really wanted them to be portrayed how they want to be portrayed. And so methodologies here were extremely important. Also, we really wanted to use Indigenous feminist frameworks and decolonizing institutions. The real point here is we want to work within the system to kind of push for positive change.
So this research involved interviewing techniques, but because we were following some Indigenous methodologies, these are very conversational styles interviews. We did come in with a subset of questions. However, we really had we wanted to promote, like Hanan said, authentic dialogue. During this research, because they're political participants, they had the ability to go off the record. So again, consent and agency in their materials was very paramount and important to us. We were able to engage with 8 women that are at different levels of electoral politics across the country, whether that be at the federal level, the provincial level, or at the local nation level. And we're really happy with the number 8 because, as I'm sure you can imagine, Indigenous women only make up for about 2 to 3% of the population in Canada. So having those 8 women dating back to our timeline of 2000 was fantastic. Our goal, again, was to really highlight their stories, but really trying to hone in on their motivations and successes, while also trying to look at to see what struggles they may have engaging in these spaces. Now that we have completed interviews, we have actually already almost finished up the theme analysis. But we do want to put a caution note on that by saying that we are very cautious at avoiding at painting their experiences as being uniform. So we want to avoid what's called a pan-Indigenous argument that essentially tries to say that everybody's experiences are the same. We know that's not true. We know that everybody in this room has had very different lived experiences, and that's no different with the Indigenous women that we're engaging with.
So moving forward, as Dawn said, we are right around the polling themes. And now we want to continue with their involvement in consultation to see if they would like to add anything to those themes, anything like that. And once again, they do have the power to put anything on the record, off and on the record, if they choose to do so. So we really do want them to be portrayed how they want to be seen in academia. And using that information, we are going to move on into writing our analysis, once again, with their consultation and having discussions with them. An important point to our research as well is really thanking them for their participation in research, because this is the whole point of this project. So in this area, it's a field that Western methodologies traditionally do not value. And so we also, they're politicians, so we couldn't really give financial compensation. But Dr. Major created earrings for them. So in the previous slide, you could see here, these are red dress earrings. Some got different earring types, but Dr. Major handmade these for them.
So this all comes back to the question as to why indigenizing research is so important. And of course, that always comes with context. Upon colonization, Indigenous women were traditional leaders within their nations, and that unfortunately was stripped from them. And it wasn't really until 1951 that Indigenous women were able to kind of have the right to vote, hire a lawyer, and organize. Research has been very harmful in the past, so we're really trying to bring that back and make it a positive change, and really just highlight that there's these amazing role models for future generations and for the young generations of Indigenous children today. So that wraps up our presentation today. Thank you for all for your time. We're really excited about this paper, and we hope that you have the chance to check it out.
Yeah, so we learned a lot of skills, but mainly I would like to say we learned more conversational type skills and working within certain fields, like for example, a trauma-informed community. How are we going to approach that type of interview and that type of person? And so as with our methodologies part, it was also really, really surprising to me as this being a part of my first type of research that we took so much time learning and reading different books. We read like at least 10 different books on Indigenous methodologies, Indigenous ways of doing pedagogy, and really that was kind of what contributed to building our skills, but also being there and taking opportunities to be in workshops, in different training, to kind of learn from Indigenous people how they want to be approached and how those kind of interviews are hosted.
I think that wraps it up pretty well for me. I don't think I have too much to add. I think other than that is really just learning how to do positionality was a big part of our training as well. So making sure that we understand where we come from so we can better understand where other people come from. That was a big thing that we were trained on and taught to engage with. And you know what? I still do that now, and I've implemented that in my my law school career, and I will be implementing that in my legal career. So it's actually just a good skill to have overall. But other than that, unless there's further questions, I think Hanan pretty wrapped it up pretty well.